I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Hey, greetings. Happy Wednesday to you all. Hope you had a nice Tuesday night. I did. Another good one. Currently sitting 3-1 with my 4 bets. The last one is going right now. I got Portland plus 6.5. They're leading in the fourth quarter, and that's a miss. We're looking good.
I have a question. Is 3 seconds always a technical in the NBA? Has that always been a technical?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
3 seconds in the paint?
Yeah, defensive 3 seconds is a foul shot. Offensive 3 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. I said you learn something every day.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, I lined up a bunch of games. I'm sure these guys are going to pass on a bunch of them. It's Wednesday, so we got a good slate of college basketball. Actually, a ton of NBA. It's a loaded basketball day tomorrow. There's 11 or 12 NBA games as well. I'm going to be uploading a video later tonight where I go through the NBA. Me and Prop Beaver were actually just cooking it up. Got some NBA bets coming after this. So, Houston, West Virginia is first. I know Toast is a West Virginia guy. Is 8.5 enough?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean West Virginia. Personally, they're coming off of 2 really bad losses against 2 weaker teams, but you also have them already playing Houston this year one time. And I don't think it was really that bad. I think Houston had a couple spurts where they definitely looked like the better team, but for the most part, I felt like West Virginia played them pretty well. They ended up losing the game by like 14 or 15 or something like that, but it felt, at least in my eyes, a lot closer than that. And you have a Houston team that obviously is coming off one of their biggest wins, if not their biggest win of the year. I would argue, it was their biggest win of the year on the road in Kansas. And regardless of what you want to say about Kansas folding in that game, they got the job done in fog. So now having to travel to West Virginia against a pretty desperate West Virginia team. Again, Houston's very, very good. I don't know if 8's enough. I wouldn't touch it right now. I would wait to see what it looks like. I know it started at 8.5 and it's bumped down to 8 in some spots, but we've also seen that with Wake Forest, for instance, last night. That was down. I bet Wake Forest at 8. It was down to 7.5. By the time I woke up, it was 8.5, 9. So if you're looking towards West Virginia, in my estimation, I would wait just to see that line tick up. But yeah, it would be West Virginia or pass for me.
Juice is saying he likes the over, and the total for this game is 123.5. Just wow. That is a low total.
Yeah, 2 of the 2 slowest paced teams in the conference. Houston, one of the slowest paced teams in the country. Yeah.
Trev, would you lean towards West Virginia as well?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't played like incredibly great lately, but I mean, that Arizona State loss was expected after they just beat Iowa State at home. That wasn't shocking at all. The Kansas State one was a little shocking, I will say. But this is a big get-up, bounce-back spot. You already lost to Houston. They kind of embarrassed you later in that game. They pulled away from you. But Morgantown's always a weird travel spot for teams. I mean, we've seen teams go in there and just lay eggs a bunch. And then, I mean, look what Iowa State did, 60 or 57 total points. I mean, that's hard. That's hard to keep Iowa State down under 65, let alone under 60. They're back here. I mean, they really only have one guy, Javon Small, which is kind of the issue. But Houston off the double OT Kansas win, that they were dead. Like, you looked at Calvin Sampson's face and he just kind of had the just whatever we're dead look. And then all of a sudden, just the 3, the steal, and they were back to life. So huge win. They do have Texas Tech on deck also at home. So this is just like going from Kansas, then you flying all the way to Morgantown, then you going back home for a big game against Texas Tech. I'm with them. I like the West Virginia. I think I would wait, like he said, wait and see where it goes. I thought this opened up at 7.5, but if it was 8.5, regardless, some people grab that. But people are going to hammer Houston tomorrow. They just beat Kansas at home. They can beat West Virginia. It's going to go up. So I would just wait for West Virginia. And the amount of possessions that are going to be in this game, as long as West Virginia can maintain a somewhat respectable offense and make some shots when they need to, they should be able to hang within single digits here.
And to your point about the 8.5 or the when it opened, I know some people that got 9. Like I know a couple like people that as soon as it opened they got 9. So it's a line I'm going to watch over the next couple hours. If I have to jump in at 8.5 small, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But another thing I wanted to point out though is that West Virginia did look like shit against Kansas State, yes. But that was like, and I was on Kansas State that day. That was like a really, really good spot for Kansas State, who had just played before that Baylor, Kansas, Texas Tech, and Houston. So they were like in a 1-6 situation in conference play in a desperate spot against a West Virginia team that was playing back-to-back road games. So that's the only thing that made me not really worry too much about that Kansas State team, because I looked at that game too like, damn, that's bad, and they were never in that game. But again, in my eyes, that was a really bad spot to be in for West Virginia.
Yeah, looks like my mic still a little quiet. Let me bump it up. I don't know. Whenever I produce the show, for some reason, my voice is quieter. Then when AJ does it, it comes in clear. So something going on with that. This should be good. How about now? That should be good right about here. So, all right, let's move on to the next game. I'm not betting that one. I'm sure I'll find a few throughout this stream. We don't have to spend a ton of time in this one. And you guys want to touch on TCU, Texas Tech, and Lubbock, or should we move on?
I don't know if I could lay that with Texas Tech. I mean, TCU's been pretty bad, but yeah, I'm not in love with Texas Tech like that. Maybe Trevor is. I don't know.
I don't mind the spot or the number for him. I think they can, because TCU is essentially just Noah Reynolds and that Alloway kid or LA kid. So they essentially have two pieces, but they do have Houston on deck, which is, that's clearly like the game they have circled. That's the in-state rivalry. Houston's everyone's crowning Big 12 champion already. So I think that's the game they have circled and are looking at. And we were doing our show. My buddy did bring up a good point. The amount of limited possessions that'll be in this game already. 14. It's a big number to lay when you're going to have, a total of 137 and both teams play fairly slow. Texas Tech does play physical defense, but I could see like Texas Tech winning by like 9 points here or something, just never being able to fully pull away and cover this number.
If I was feeling good about myself, I would probably fire at TCU, especially if you could have got them at 15.5 earlier. And the only reason I say that is because they haven't looked great. But if you look at their road games in conference, on the road at Arizona, you're not expected to win that game. They only lost that game by 9. On the road at Houston, yeah, they lost by like 18. Everybody loses to 18 by Houston. On the road at Baylor, they won that game. And then the only team that they really is not great is UCF. And UCF looked fantastic tonight. And that was just their last away game. So that was I was kind of leaning towards TCU. I can't get anything right now, so I'm a little gun shy.
So our poll is all over TCU. 80% of the 10 people, so 8 people click TCU. Wag says he likes TCU. He's waiting for a higher number. Juice says he likes TCU.
I don't think you're going to get higher than 14.5.
Sheet
13.5 on BetMGM right now.
So it seems like as far as the group that is sitting here right now is leaning towards TCU. I will not be taking that. Next up, Auburn on the road at LSU. The number is 12.5, or at least it was when I made these graphics. Total 148.5. Another one where I don't know if you guys have any interest in talking about it. I loaded it up just in case.
LSU is pretty bad. I mean, they've managed to kind of hang in some of these games a little bit, but Auburn it's still Auburn. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, lucky for LSU, it's not at the Jungle. So, I mean, they've got a fighter's chance, I guess you could say, but I really wouldn't like it. I mean, Vanderbilt, 8-point loss. They lost by 16 to Mizzou, 12 to Ole Miss. I mean, they've kind of hung around that like 8 to like 13 point range. So, I mean, yeah, I guess I would lean LSU here at home with Auburn off of the big Tennessee game, but I want no part of betting LSU or Auburn in this one personally.
Well, 4 of the LSU's last 5 games have been on the road, and their only home game was a win.
Okay. Again, I'm probably going to say this a few times tonight. I'm sorry, but if I was feeling myself, I would have already fired on LSU here. Look, Trevor said it. They're off that big Tennessee game. They also have They also have Ole Miss on deck, which is a really big game for them. Not so little bit of a sandwich spot for Auburn. Not to mention the fact, look at Auburn in conference on the road, a 5-point win against Texas. What was another one? A 2-point win against Georgia, and then there was another one in there. I can't remember. Oh yeah, a 3-point win against South Carolina. I get that Broom got hurt against South Carolina, but it's not like they were blowing them out anyway. So again, Auburn has played continual close games on the road every single time they've been on the road in conference play so far. And the only other game prior to conference games that they were actually in a true road game, they went to Duke and lost. Obviously, LSU is not Duke, and they're not those other teams. But until Auburn shows me that they can win by double digits comfortably on the road, no sweat, there's no way in hell I'm laying points with this team. So I lean LSU. I can't get anything right, but I really, really lean LSU.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. Coming off the Tennessee game, then who does Auburn have on deck?
Ole Miss.
At Ole Miss. Yeah, I might dabble. Let's go to the next one. Everyone hated on my UCF one, and that came through. That maybe this tomorrow. Maybe LSU's my UCF for tomorrow. Wisconsin catching 5.5.
It's 5.5. I thought it was 3.5.
Did I might have messed the graphic up.
Let me look. Nope, you're right. It just keeps on moving up.
So okay.
What is going on? Go ahead, Trevor. You're a cheesehead. You know what's going on. Tell me what's going on.
But he's not in liberal Madison though.
Sorry, my bad. I apologize. That was rude of me. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, how dare you, man?
Is cheesehead an offensive term?
I don't know. I just felt bad at that point. Started calling me a liberal and stuff. I didn't know what to do.
No, Helms is the liberal.
Yeah, Helmsy down there in Madison. Yeah, I don't get this number. I mean, Wisconsin's got Crowell and Winter that can bang with Reese and Queen down low. All 5 guys on the floor can shoot outside. They are constantly moving on offense. They have multiple ball handlers, multiple guys that can make the shots. Nobody's afraid to take the shot. Tanji can take over a game. I get Maryland is good. They're at home. This is a big game for Maryland. But Wisconsin has played tough opponents, and they've gotten this done too. I mean, I know some of these were neutral. I mean, they did beat Arizona. That was home. But UCF Pittsburgh, that's the one. The neutral at the Greenbrier. Those are 2 respectable teams, pretty good teams. We did lose to Michigan at home, but Marquette and Illinois, those games were closer than what those final scores were. I mean, those were the last 5 minutes, Marquette kind of pulled away in that one. And then that Illinois game, that was tight. And then we didn't make a shot, and then they fouled, and that's how they extended all the way up to 6. It's not like we were never in that game, but, I mean, we've gone to USC and won. We beat Rutgers in the rack by double digits. I know UCLA got us, but this number is just ridiculous. I mean, we've got guys all over the floor. We've got 2 7-footers that can bang down low. Maryland has beaten up on rough teams at home. I mean, I'm not saying that they haven't beaten only ass teams at home. I mean, UCLA was a good win. Illinois on the road also. Illinois had the norovirus or whatever the hell going on. Noah Visic. Some guys were out, not feeling 100%. You could just see it the way they played. They did not look good. And then Indiana. Congratulations on beating Indiana. I know it was at yeah, and he needed a last second 3. I know it was at Assembly Hall, but they were up double digits and they blew that game. They should have covered.
Yeah, I was going to say, not to mention the fact that Indiana had multiple chances. And that was just absolutely disgraceful. And Indiana had the ball at the end of the game. So,
yeah.
I like Maryland because everyone's taking Wisconsin. No one understands the line. So clearly someone.
Yep. That's why I haven't bet it yet, because clearly I'm rather missing something. But I mean, again, besides, and Trevor just illustrated why the Illinois win, it is what it is. It looks really good, but I mean, I don't really know if that's going to happen. They're going to be able to, if they played Illinois again, I have a hard time believing they're going to win by 20, let alone 10 or win the game. But regardless, but like, besides that, like who's Maryland beating that's like super impressive? Indiana, Nebraska, Minnesota, UCLA, Syracuse, St. Francis. Like, I don't understand.
UCLA just beat Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, UCLA beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin on their first back-to-back road games on the West Coast. UCLA played fantastic. Good job. Like, again, sooner or later, Wisconsin was going to lose a game. That was the first game Wisconsin had lost in over a month. So I just don't understand why. Again, sure, Maryland's maybe a better team, and maybe they should be favored in this game. Maybe, but anything over 3 is an absolute disgrace to me. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. So it would be Wisconsin or pass. I'm not betting it because clearly I'm missing something. So we'll see what happens.
Rod is in the comments, and he's on Wisconsin money line.
That boy, Rod.
Juice says Wisconsin feels like a trap, but it's not.
Well, Wisconsin's been catching these numbers too.
I mean, even Trevor said it. Like, you have to worry about Queen and Reese, and you have Blackwell 6'4", Tanjay 6'5", Corral 7 foot, Kesmet 6'4", Winter 6'11", that Amos kid 6'7". I mean, everybody on Wisconsin 6'4" and up. Like, it's not. It doesn't make any sense to me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin also can make their free throws too. Number one in the country.
Free throw shooting people. Yep.
But number 2 in the conference. They've slumped a little bit. They've slumped a tad bit in conference. But I mean, we've seen Tanji take over games and drop 30 plus. I mean, I know I'm talking a lot about this. I'm probably not going to bet this because it is my team. I've already got enough vested interest into this. But they're just the better team. So something is obviously up. Maybe somebody's out. But this number is just ridiculous.
Touche.
Terps by 9. Next. Cool story. Terps by 9. All right.
And by the way, don't feel bad for talking about it because we were talking about it because it didn't make any sense. So
fair.
Toes, you want to talk about Duquesne catching 9 against St. Joe's?
Dukes? The Dukes? Oh man, I don't know. This number seems a little bit off to me. I don't know. I mean, I know that the Dukes have lost 2 in a row, but they did whoop up on St. Bonaventure. They did beat this St. Joe's team earlier in the year at home. It was in overtime, but I don't know about 9 points. I would lean the Dukes here. Personally, one thing I hate about Duquesne is that they can't shoot free throws. Another thing is that St. Louis can't shoot free throws, but both these teams play the same sort of pace. St. Joseph's doesn't turn teams over at all, so Duquesne should be able to be fine, and they shoot the 3 ball very well. I think these games are extremely evenly matched. I know that they're a little bit different in KenPom or whatnot, but I really don't think that St. Joseph's is that much better than Duquesne. So I didn't bet it, but I would lean Duquesne plus all the points.
I think I am going to bet this one, Duquesne. Wags is on the Dukes. Juice says the Dukes. Are we a Dukes program?
It might be. I looked at this earlier. I kind of like St. Joe's, but not enough to bet this. I mean, St. Joe's either wins by double digits or they just lose outright. There's no in between with this team.
Touché.
So I mean, if you're gonna bet the Dukes, just sprinkle it on the money line, because St. Joe's lost to Dayton, beat Davidson by 17, lost to VCU, beat Loyola Chicago by 40, lost to Dukes, lost to St. Louis, beat Mass by 9, Delaware by 20. I mean, there's no in between with this team. They don't play close games. They're either going to lose the game or they're just going to win by double digits and cover outright. But like he said, they struggle at the free throw line. They don't turn you over. The rebounding has been an issue a little bit too, where Duquesne can get you. So I think Duquesne hangs in this, but it is a big number. Like, it kind of feels like St. Joe's will get their revenge in this one at home. They are off of the Dayton loss. They got Loyola on deck. So, I mean, maybe they come home pissed off after the big Dayton loss and they just run them out the gym. But if you do bet Duquesne, I would sprinkle a little on the money line.
I may do that. Carmen Cole's in the comments. Duquesne money line. We're a Dukes program. Grabenz says he's laying the points with St. Joe's. Grabenz had a good comment before, and we've all been there. He goes, I'm taking Maryland because my read is Wisconsin.
So, amen, brother. Amen.
Virginia is catching points from Miami. Am I reading that properly?
No, because we can't fade both of them at the same time. So I don't know how we play this game.
We don't have to spend a ton of time on it. I thought it was interesting enough to add graphics.
I would lean Miami. They looked somewhat, again, this is like, take this with a huge grain of salt, but they looked somewhat competent against California on the road in their second game of that West Coast road trip. So they scored 94 points. They lost by 4 in overtime, but they did look much, much better than they had the previous month and a half. So maybe, just maybe, they started to find something a little bit. Again, both these teams are absolutely terrible. So I would lean Miami only because they're at home. And yeah.
What about under?
What's the number?
134.5, which for normal is kind of low, but for Virginia.
And the only reason that I would say no, The only reason I would say no to that is because Miami's defense is horrible and their offense is great. So if they start to score a little bit, and I mean, I can see, I don't know, maybe I'm just talking.
Juice likes the Canes. You betting the Canes?
Hell no. I have a couple of ATM teams. I just insert my money every game and I withdraw my winnings. That would be Buffalo, Miami, and UWGB. Miami is off of the West Coast trip. There's a theory, shout out Moneyline Mac from college experience. The second game of a West Coast road trip, teams usually play better after they get adjusted. And we saw that from Miami. They put up 94, yet they still lost. They almost gave up 100. They couldn't get it done, still putting up 94 points. Now you're going to fly home and you're going to play a Virginia team that their defense isn't typical Virginia, but they can still slow it down and make you uncomfortable and body you up. I think Virginia gets a win here. Both of these teams are ass, but I'm going to go with Virginia, who at least has won some games as of late, unlike Miami. Miami hasn't won. They beat Presbyterian December 15th. Prior to that, Coppin State, Binghamton, and Fairleigh Dickinson. If they beat Virginia, congratulations. But I don't think it's going to happen. Nobody will be at this game. Give me Virginia. They're just in a better spot.
I'm putting Virginia up for me too, and this reminds me of Toast. You remember when I took Miami against Florida State, probably 3 weeks ago?
And I told you not to.
You did tell me not to, and it was like Miami minus. I'm pretty sure it was the same number, -1.5, and I was like, guys, everyone was taking Florida State.
The time is now.
Yeah, it wasn't now.
For the record, I wouldn't put 25 cents on Miami -1.5, just for the record.
Wesker says, "Hold up, Presbyterian plays with a lot of passion, a lot of heart." Rod is in the comments saying bet against Virginia. So Rod is leaning towards Miami. Juice says Canes, but no bet. Let's move on to.
I will be on Virginia. I can tell you that much.
I might be.
You're actually going to bet them?
I'm going to put.
Oh yes, I blind fade UWGB, Miami, and Buffalo every week, and I'm on top this year for sure.
I've bet him against Miami a lot. This game, that one is just absolutely disgusting.
I can't wait for it.
I'm not sure why I put this one in there. Maybe because I know Toast likes Wichita. I don't know why I put this game in. We don't have to talk about it.
I like the AAC. I mean, Memphis is in there. North Texas is what, the second, third best team in that conference? It's got to be the second, right?
They're better behind Memphis.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. They're tied with Memphis 6-1 in the conference.
Do we want to stop on this game? Or should I just keep on cruising to the next one? North Texas, Wichita.
Go ahead,
State.
Trevor. I'm curious to see if Trevor has a play in this game, because I feel like this number is a little bit short. I mean, Wichita sucks, and North Texas is somewhat decent. Why is it under 2 possessions?
It feels very short. I was big on North Texas against FAU last game. That huge second half helped me out, but they didn't look incredibly sharp whatsoever in that first half. They gave up a lot of points. They weren't scoring. At least they made the adjustments at halftime, but that start was kind of alarming. But I mean, on paper, Wichita should just get shut down in this game. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like Wichita's been incredibly great lately. They lost to Tulsa. Memphis got them. That is what it is. That's Memphis. But they did hang in by 8 in that game. So I mean, you could chalk that up as a good loss if you will. But East Carolina, they struggled. Charlotte, they struggled. They did beat Charlotte, but they only scored 68. And this is going to be similar to that style of pace and game. I would maybe lean towards Wichita State catching North Texas off of that huge FAU game, because FAU did beat them 3 times last year and ended their season with one of those wins in the postseason. So that was a huge get-up game, and it didn't happen until the second half. But now you're going to hit the road. I would lean Wichita State. I don't want any part of it, though.
Wags is on Wichita, too, he said.
And just for a context of why on paper we were saying it should be like North Texas could blow them out. North Texas is by far the number 1 offense in this conference. Wichita State is 12 out of 13 teams as far as defensive efficiency in this conference. And then obviously everybody knows North Texas likes to slow the game down and play at a crawl. Wichita State likes to play super fast. So if North Texas can slow them down, and oh, by the way, North Texas has one of the best defenses in the conference. Wichita State has one of the worst offenses in the conference. Like, everything that you could possibly line up is bad for Wichita State. That's why this number being 5.5 is just kind of weird to us.
Yeah.
Juice is on North Texas, by the way. Let's move on to a better brand of basketball. Let's talk Big East.
Hell yeah.
I don't know Big East ball, remember?
Oh, I'm aware. Post doesn't know shit about the Big East.
It's because I don't gargle UConn like everybody else.
No, I'm a DePaul guy now.
Okay, touche. That was a great transfer by you, actually. I hope you got paid in the portal.
Xavier on the road at Creighton. The number is 6. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Musketeers have been looking decent recently, right?
Yes,
so
they
6
have.
Is pretty, dude, Creighton sucks. I
hate to admit that Xavier has been like impressively good, and especially now after today and St. John's just demolishing Georgetown. That loss to St. John's looks even better now because it was in overtime. So yeah, and two of their last two losses, both to St. John's. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what you say, Trevor, because Creighton's been flying really high, but they've also been playing some really bad teams. Not named one of them. The only one they haven't been that was good was UConn, but everybody else has been pretty damn bad. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I kind of lean Xavier here.
I like what I've seen from Xavier lately. I mean, they're ultra desperate spot from here on out. Like, they can't afford to be dropping games. Going to Creighton's always just a weird trip, though. I mean, it's out in Nebraska. You just beat UConn at home, like a huge win. Like, those fans were chanting "fuck Dan Hurley" like an hour and a half before tip off. Like, that place was amped up for that game. You know that team was ready to go. Yeah. Creighton's been good at home too. I mean, they beat Kansas at home. They beat UNLV, Villanova, St. John's. It's on the road is where really their struggles come from. 6 points, 3 possessions does feel like a lot, but the only time they've had a close home game was St. John's and Villanova. Well, Villanova, they beat by 7, St. John's by 1. Other than that, they've just kind of like housed people at home, like never had an issue whatsoever. But Xavier does defend the 3 where Creighton can really get to you, but Xavier really won't have anything inside for Kalkbrenner. If he's getting fed and he's grabbing boards, it's going to be a long night for Xavier. I would lean Creighton here just because they're at home, but
I put it up too.
I don't know. I haven't looked into this fully yet.
Yeah, so we got some in the comments here. First of all, Rod's on North Texas in the last game. Graben says, doesn't Xavier suck on the road? Yep, which is what Trev was just talking about. Where's the comment I saw? Rod, Creighton following a conference game. They're 8-0 against the spread.
Oh, well, first of all.
For a conference win, maybe. Is that supposed to say conference win?
In conference play, Xavier on the road lost to UConn in overtime, lost to Georgetown by 6, lost to St. John's by 10. I'm sorry. Lost to St. John's by 8, beat Marquette. I mean, it's not like into the world terrible for Xavier on the road.
Toast wants to take the Musketeers.
I really want to. It's again, I'm very gun shy right now. I'm going to see what this line is in the morning because the world loves the Blue Jays. So we'll see where we're at.
I'm going to write Creighton down on my list.
Creighton at home is just way different. If this was at Xavier, I'd be all over Xavier.
I agree. It's different, but at the same time, against who? Seton Hall, Providence, St. John's. That was the good one. St. John's was the good one. I'll give them that.
Hold on.
They beat Villanova at home too. I mean, Villanova's respectable.
I don't know about that.
So Wags saying he's laying 9.5 alt line on Creighton. He says his Creighton is his number 1 wagon tomorrow.
It's his number 1 Wags.
His number 1 wagon. So there you have it. So you know what that means. Number 1 wagon.
You know what that means.
It's about time. Let's give the people what they're waiting for. Let's talk Blue Demons.
Let's wait for everybody to come in on the live that have been waiting for us to talk on this one so they don't miss it.
Yeah,
they're all joining right now.
People are they had their finger on the X and they're like, I'm clicking off if we don't get to the ball game in 5 minutes. On the road in Stores or Hartford, depending on the game.
Oh man, that was funny. It'll be in Hartford, just for the record.
It's at the XL Center.
Yeah, it's Hartford. Source is Gamble. 14.5 is a big number, but there's also a very large talent discrepancy between these two teams. As far as talent, but as far as heart, it goes the other way, and it's just trying to quantify the heart of DePaul. And is it enough?
UConn does have Marquette on deck. That's a very, very big game for the Big East. Marquette number 1.
Why is everyone in the poll clicking DePaul, bro? If I'm gonna bet DePaul, I want to be the only one.
I know. I knew that you were gonna like that.
Graben says UConn rolls here.
I mean, when has UConn rolled anybody? When's the last time UConn rolled somebody? I'll wait, but just let me know.
Dude, when's the last time DePaul has beaten UConn?
Okay, I'm just saying, like,
Oh God.
Like, are we talking like decades? Like, when's the last time? Because I do remember a time when DePaul was a decent basketball team. I mean,
they only lost by 13 the first time these two teams played. It wasn't like in a total annihilation. I mean, they were never in the game, but I'm just saying, like,
they're 0-17 against.
Wag says DePaul too many points.
I will not be betting this game. I would love to be on the DePaul side with you guys. I don't think, again, I just don't think that UConn should be favored by that many points. I know that they look really good, but in conference play, they have their wins: 2 points over Butler, 8 points over Georgetown, 3 points over Providence, 13 points over DePaul, 4 points over Butler, 5 points over Xavier. I mean, they're not blowing anybody out. Matter of fact, they're just continuing to play close games, win or lose. So there's no way in hell I'm laying whatever the number is right now, 16, 15 and a half, whatever the number is. It would be DePaul or not.
Helms says DePaul. Juice says DePaul. Wags says DePaul. The graphic I put up for me is DePaul money line at plus 700.
The fact that you guys don't understand. He had to make that graphic. He had to go look that number up, sit there on his computer, and make that graphic.
I had it loaded.
This.
I was going to feel the room out. Trev.
You drugged me into DePaul that one time after the Georgetown game. I was like, I'm done here. I'm 500 on DePaul. I'm just going to walk away, with something.
Now, hold on, Trevor.
Went right back
to be
against
fair, that was against Butler, and you can't get Butler right. Nobody can get Butler right, so that's not fair.
This is fair.
It wasn't DePaul's fault. So it was not DePaul's fault.
We won't even count that game. I'm 1-1 betting DePaul.
All right, cool.
UConn can't blow people out. That's the problem. That's the freaking problem. I'm struggling with this. They beat DePaul by 13 on the road, but they did have Liam McNeely. They do not have Liam McNeely these last games, and you can see the effect it's had. I mean, 3-point win at home against Providence, lost to Villanova, Georgetown, they beat by 8. Creighton lost by 5. Butler, they had to take the overtime at home and win by 2. Lost to Xavier. Like, without McNeely, they've been just not good, like, whatsoever. Not to mention, who's the other guy that's also – Caravan had that ankle. He's been back. So it's essentially that one guy, but I can see the look ahead to Marquette. They are off a loss, and you're going to get DePaul here, who they could, in theory, pummel, but they haven't been doing it. Put up DePaul.
Oh, my God. We swept DePaul.
I'm not betting
money line?
I'm done. No. I wouldn't bet money line with your money.
Again, I know I just want to bet that so bad.
So
I do too, I can.
Rod says UConn 0-9 against the spread in first half. DePaul first half plus 8.5. When you say 0-9 in first half, I'm assuming he means last 9.
Conference play, maybe.
0-9. Oh, in conference play. Okay.
They are. Yeah, they're 6-3 in conference, so that would kind of add up for conference play.
So yeah, 0-9 against the spread in first halves in conference play. That's really crazy. 0-9. DePaul first half.
We saw what Kansas did today, too, after a loss to UCF, a team they throttled. UCF came out and played pretty well. I'm not comparing DePaul and UCF whatsoever, but just saying, like, something similar has happened, and that was today.
I'll glance at the first half money line. It's not open yet. All right, let's move on. Too much Blue Demon. Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
I hate both these teams. I would lean Kansas State because Oklahoma State is just abysmal, but it's not like Kansas State's been good.
Yeah, not to mention Kansas State. I had Kansas State on Saturday as one of my bigger bets against West Virginia, and they absolutely rolled in that game. But they also shot, like over 50% from the field, almost 36% from 3. you're probably not always going to get that from this team. So they do have Iowa State on deck on the road. I don't know if that really matters when you're not really in the running for anything in the conference, but I just figured I would point that out. But I would lean Kansas State. There's just no way I lay close to 8 points with that team, regardless of how bad Oklahoma State is. There's just not a chance in hell I do that.
I'm putting Kansas State up too because that's the way I was leaning, but yeah, I'm not even writing this one down.
That 7.5 feels just big enough to where you want to bet Oklahoma State against them, but it kind of feels telling that they're going to roll them by double digits.
All right, so I'll put Kansas State graphics up for us, and we'll move on to the next one.
I was going to say, if it gets to 8.5, I would feel a lot more confident with Kansas State because that tells me that they're very confident that they're not worried about the Oklahoma State money.
Wags likes the under in this game, by the way, 145.5, and Grabenz is in the comments. He likes Oklahoma State. Alabama, Mississippi State, 166 total and a 1-point line. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alabama's been covering the last few, and Mississippi State hasn't, right?
No.
Covering. Did they cover against LSU last time out? I don't think so.
I thought I saw.
No,
I don't know. That's a legit question. I'm not positive.
LSU covered. I think they were catching like 12 or 13.
Okay, I thought so. I just wasn't positive. Go ahead, Trevor. You can go first.
I mean, Mississippi State. I mean, they beat Ole Miss at home overtime, beat South Carolina on the road overtime. South Carolina also catches teams just randomly at home, plays them tough. But other than that, Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee loss. I think Mississippi State's offense has enough to hang in this game. I mean, they're a respectable unit, but they've really kind of just been slumping really hard lately. Alabama's kind of started to figure it out. They dropped that home game against Ole Miss. They went to Kentucky, got a W, beat up on Vanderbilt at home, LSU at home. Now they're going to hit the road. I like Chris Jans. I like this team, but there's just two teams kind of playing different ball right now, and I think Alabama's going to be able to get it done on the road here. I think a lot of people are going to take Mississippi State, dog at home, catching Bama on the road, but Alabama's offense, home or road has been clicking, and Mississippi State's kind of started to slump a little bit. I know they lost to Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee. Like, those are good teams, but I mean, their offenses in general hasn't been great. 65 in an overtime game in South Carolina. Ole Miss, they put up 81 at home, or 84 at home. 56 against Tennessee. I mean, 66. Like, their offense is kind of sputtering a little bit right now, so I would feel better with Alabama here.
Ready for this? So 75% of the votes on Alabama. Juice says Alabama. Wags says Alabama. Sheed, Alabama. Karma Coles, Alabama first half. B. Felly, Alabama. There's not one person in here that likes Mississippi State.
Trust me. I'll be on Mississippi State, and Alabama will win. I promise.
No, I'm on Mississippi State, and we're winning.
I believe this Mississippi State's one of the teams I believe in, and Trevor kind of illustrated it. The only teams they've lost to in conference are the teams that everybody's losing to: Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky. Everywhere else, they've stepped up in competition. They've won games, and whether it be Memphis or McNeese, they dropped a game to Butler on a neutral, but beat SMU, Utah. Not that Utah's fantastic, Ole Miss, and then the South Carolina game. They figured out how to win in OT. So in South Carolina, like Trevor said, is not an easy place to play. We've seen that, and now they're going to be catching Alabama, which again, Alabama's been playing really great. But the thing with Alabama is they rather put up 100 or they can seem to struggle. And we saw that with LSU. Only 80 points in that LSU game. They didn't cover it. Obviously, I don't think you guys need me to tell you how much better than Mississippi State is, better than LSU. I believe in what Chris Jans is doing there. I think they're a very, very good team that nobody really wants to talk about. I lean Mississippi State here. I'm going to wait to see what this number is because the world seems to like Alabama. So if we wake up in the morning and it's still 1.5 or whatever, I'll definitely be on Mississippi State. But I think that Mississippi State can play with Alabama. They got the size to play inside with Alabama, and all they got to really worry about is slowing down Mark Steers and Grant Nelson. And I think that they'll have definitely guys. I think Hubbard can match up with them, and I think Cameron Matthews and that Keyshawn Murphy kid can definitely hang with the guys from Alabama. So again, it's just a really big spot for Mississippi State, and I think that they'll be able to handle it. So we'll see what happens, but I lean Mississippi State.
I'm going to write Mississippi State down. I don't know if I'm actually – that's 4 games I've written down.
I mean, Mississippi State's 3-point shooting and defense isn't great, and that's the one area you can try to exploit Bama. Like if you can slow down their threes, it's going to be a rough day for Alabama. But they don't defend it well. They shoot it 28% in conference play. So I think it's going to be kind of tough for them to kind of hang around in this game. And if they do get to the line, they're shooting 71%. And Bama does not send you to the foul line whatsoever because they try to keep you out of the paint and make you make jumpers. So I like Bama here. It just feels like a better spot for him personally, but we'll see what happens.
I'm very curious to see if Mississippi State can get Grant Nelson in foul trouble because Mississippi State does really good job inside. So we'll see. It's a 1-point line for a reason. I mean, you can definitely make sides for both teams.
Rutgers on the road at Northwestern. We're looking at 7. Is Harper playing?
He should. He played he was. Yeah, he should be.
No, but he was out, and then he wasn't out, and then he was out again. So
I think he tweaked his ankle last game or something.
Yeah,
I believe.
You guys have any interest in this one, or you want to skip to the next one?
I wanted to play on Northwestern, but just because I think that they're kind of an underrated team that can really cause issues for people, but that's a big number for me with Northwestern. So I think that Northwestern probably wins this game. I just think that Northwestern's like a little bit underrated. I think that Martinelli and Barnheiser can really give people issues. That Leach kid isn't bad either. They're a really big basketball team. And that's one thing that Rutgers is really big too. So they're used to being a bigger basketball team. They're not going to be much bigger than Northwestern. So Northwestern just quietly, I think, a pretty decent basketball team, especially in covering wise. So but they're usually catching points. They're not laying multiple possessions. So I lean Northwestern. I just keep on getting burned with Rutgers. I mean, I just think they're going to play well. I know that if you caught Rutgers at the right time, they covered against Michigan State. They didn't cover for me. So I thought they played decent enough against Michigan State, but I mean, at the same time, they continue to lose and not cover, or at least a certain number. So I lean Northwestern.
So Juice is on Rutgers. Rod is on Northwestern with you. Helms is on Rutgers. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I can't bet this game. Rutgers is from New Jersey, but I'll put Rutgers up. I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, if Northwestern is forcing turnovers, it's going to be a long day for Rutgers. And then, the status of Harper is huge because he does a lot for that team, in which case it would just be the Ace Bailey show after that. But Northwestern's been feisty, man. Like Joe said, they're big, they're lengthy, but 7, I can't. I don't know if it's just I can't figure out what the angle would be for the 7. Like Northwestern hasn't been playing like incredibly great. I mean, I get Rutgers has been ass, but 7 is a bunch. I would lean towards Rutgers, but I don't want any part of this game, to be honest. I could see cases for both of them as a way to get home.
All right, let's move on.
If you take anything away from that, just pay attention to Northwestern as the season goes along, because they're a lot better, or feisty is a really good word like Trevor used, than you think. So.
All right, let's move on. We got 3 games left. I know that the thing says we have 4 games left, but I accidentally forgot to take out Oregon State Gonzaga. So one of those games is actually a game that's playing right now. Texas Ole Miss. Toast, you know what to do.
You already know, boys. You already know.
Why are we taking them, though? Because they're back.
Because they never let me down.
No, because they're back as a dog.
Trevor. This is the one team in college basketball that never lets me down. No, do you understand the kind of witchcraft that has to happen for me to be on board with a Rodney Terry team 2 times a week for like 3 weeks in a row? On the road? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
you're going to give us 6?
Texas, because they're back in the underdog spot where they've been very good to us.
Good in the underdog spot. Everybody's going to want to fade them after that big Texas A&M win, but I just think they continue to play really good basketball. They're 3-4 in the conference, but the teams they've lost to, Texas A&M, Auburn, Tennessee, and Florida. I mean, again, most teams are going to lose to those teams. They play all those games close besides the Florida game. I guess Texas A&M got away from them too, but I think this is a really big stretch for Ole Miss right now. They play Texas. They got Auburn on deck, then Kentucky after that. They're coming in with 3 straight losses. I know it's a desperate game for them. Maybe they win this game, yes, but I will be betting Texas. There's no doubt about that.
Helms is on Texas. B. Felly, Texas.
The line's going up, though, so just give it some time, boys. Give it some time.
Juice is on the Rebels, though, and it sounds like by Trevor's reaction that he's about to say Ole Miss as well.
Yeah. We all saw that Texas game on Saturday. Come on. Like, they were down 22 points. They won on a last-second layup. Mississippi prides themselves on the defense. They have the size, the athleticism, the length advantage over Texas here. And Mississippi needs this game. They just dropped 3 straight to Miss State, Texas A&M, and Missouri. Now they get Texas before Auburn. I think they're trying to get right before Auburn because you do not want to go into Auburn with 4 straight losses. They're gonna eat you alive. And I just don't trust this Texas defense at all. Ole Miss turns it over or doesn't turn it over and forces a ton of turnovers too. So I think Texas might get a little lazy, might be a little hungover from that big win. I mean, they just came back from 22 on Texas A&M at home, and they were, I believe they stormed the court. They were out partying on Saturday night. And also bad karma for Rodney Terry for sticking his tongue out and celebrating in the handshake line after he was yelling at the UCF. He just yelled at the UCF guys last year for that. That's classless shit. And then he goes and does the exact same shit. That's bad karma. Ole Miss is going to win this game.
No, I like that. That's called tenacity, Trevor.
Yep. He doesn't let other people affect his opinion himself. I support Rodney Terry from now on. Also, I just wanted to point out 2 other things. Texas, huge size advantage all across the board for them. And you also have Texas, the second best free throw shooting team in the conference. Ole Miss, one of the worst, if not the worst free throw shooting team in the conference.
Trev, you forgot about the free throw battle.
I'm not too worried. The free throws won't matter when they're up 15 late.
Okay, they will when this gets bought up to 8 and I take it 8 and they hit the last free throw to cover for me.
Wags is on the.
Well, if I'm taking 6, I hope you hit.
Yeah, we're gonna middle the hell out of this. Yeah.
We almost had that Penn State one. That would have been sick.
Arthur Kaluma, forward for Texas, listed as questionable.
Yeah, he's worthless.
He didn't play last game, I don't think.
I was going to say he's worthless anyway.
Big Trey Johnson's the one you really got to be paying attention to.
I was going to say, yeah. And that Pope kid's doing pretty well, too.
Yeah, Oregon State.
What a disrespectful line here. St. Mary's only 4.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, take Santa Clara then.
Go ahead, Trevor. Talk about this game first, since I'm obviously biased.
I like Santa Clara here.
Thank you.
This is a big game on our show. We've had a lot of arguments about St. Mary's, who's better than Santa Clara. We get to figure this game out tomorrow. I like Santa Clara at home. St. Mary, they're hitting the road. They've been playing really good. They're due a loss. I mean, they went to Wazoo, 5-point win. They still gave up 75 points. San Francisco, they caught. So congratulations. But that was after the big Oregon State win. St. Mary's has just been way too hot. They have Gonzaga on deck also. We cannot forget about that one. That's the one that's the money game right there. They've got that one circled. Santa Clara has this one circled because if they can beat St. Mary's and they've got a win over Gonzaga, that's going to be huge for them. And they're off of a loss. They're at home. Short line after St. Mary's has been blowing everybody out. This is a true look ahead for St. Mary's. I'm not saying they're not going to be prepared for this game, but Santa Clara is going to have the energy for this game. St. Mary's is just they're looking forward to Saturday. They've got that Gonzaga game circled. Is Santa Clara 4.5? I'm going to take them money line too, probably. I'll put them in a money line round robin, potentially with Duquesne and UMass. Yeah, I like Santa Clara here. This 4.5 is telling. St. Mary's ain't gonna stop them and ain't gonna score.
I don't know if I can really even add anything to that beautiful soliloquy that you just wrote down or just gave out to us. So the only thing I can also say is that one thing that St. Mary's does really well is rebound because they're usually a lot bigger than everybody else. They're not going to be bigger than Santa Clara. Santa Clara is just absolutely huge across the board. Yeah, everybody on the floor is going to be 6'5" or bigger besides Carlos Stewart, who's the senior point guard and knows what he's doing. You don't have to worry about him. So I just think that Santa Clara match, I can't even talk because I'm reading what he's writing. Santa Clara matches up very, very well with him, and that look-ahead spot is just, you can't worry about it. So, yeah.
To quote Helms, who is on St. Mary's, because he understands college basketball, says, what are we even talking about? What are we even talking about? This line should be 9. St. Mary's is a
out of here. What? 9?
I let you talk during your time. St. Mary's is not the type of team that suffers from look-ahead spot syndrome. They're well coached. They play defense. This is a wholesome program. I've been a St. Mary's guy for 2-3 years now, and This is not a team that lets me down often. I will be betting this game. I'm excited that the group is going to be into this one. The Discord should be a fun time for this late night game tomorrow night.
Yes.
Alt line, St. Mary's minus 9.5.
I can't. He said I let you talk.
So send him the child cancer link he sent me because that's a pure donation.
I will send it to him as soon as we get off the show.
Oh, Rod. Oh, guys, hold on. Listen to Rod.
Like my favorite thing, by the way.
He says, bet on St. Mary's against teams that are called for 17 or less fouls a game. I fucking love Rod, dude.
Saber metrics, man. Saber fucking metrics.
Where does he find this? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. He's a man, though.
Gotta respect that.
So we have 2 picks on Santa Clara, 2 fake sharp picks, and 1 correct pick on St. Mary's.
Santa Clara went on the road and put up 103 points to Gonzaga. Do you really think they're not going to be able to score against the St. Mary's Fairies?
Gonzaga defense is so much different than St. Mary's defense. St. Mary's is actually well coached.
A 4.5-point home dog to and an ultimate get-up spot after a loss with no look ahead. They've got Pacific on deck. Pacific may cover because Santa Clara is going to beat St. Mary's. So it's
you know what? I'll give you I'll bet Santa Clara with you against Pacific in the bounce back.
No, I don't want you on this.
No chance.
Actually, I want to write that down. I don't want to forget to bet that. I'm betting that fucking game.
Oh, you won't forget with all the talk in the Discord.
I know.
Tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot of chatter on that one. So last game up. We got Syracuse, Stanford. This one's super late. This is like 11:30 p.m. start or some shit Eastern. I know it's not the best game. I thought 10.5 is kind of crazy, but from what my understanding, Stanford's playing pretty well.
Yeah, Trevor might know these teams a little bit better than me, just because, or at least Syracuse wise. But for me, it would only be Stanford against a Syracuse team that I played. I watched that whole Pittsburgh game just because I was at the gym that day and it was on the TV. So I watched that. Was like the only game that I watched, and they fought in that game a lot. They ended up losing because obviously Pittsburgh's really well. But now they got to fly across the country and play a Stanford team that's been pretty damn decent. I mean, they haven't really played anything fantastic competition, but only 1 loss going back to January 8th. So the number's a little bit high, but it feels like one of those games that this number's high for a reason. Again, Stanford offense is probably top 5 in this conference, which is, I mean, it's not like the ACC, excuse me, is anything fantastic, but I mean, they're pretty damn decent, and they're the best free throw shooting team in the conference as well, which I love a lot. So again, and Syracuse is the worst free throw shooting team in that conference. But yeah, I think that the Stanford offense is just going to be too much, and then you have that travel spot for Syracuse. So I would lean Stanford. Do I really end up betting it at 10.5? I don't really know, but there's no way I would play Syracuse.
Trev?
Yeah, no, I like Stanford here. Your argument for Syracuse could be Eddie Lampkin can kind of bully Renault a little bit and take him out of the game a little bit. But look what Stanford's done to these ACC teams coming over. Vatek, not saying they're good. They beat them by 11. Virginia, they beat them by 23. Miami, it's Miami. They beat them by 37. Florida State, 7. But Florida State was also the second game of their road trip here. I don't think Syracuse is as good as Florida State. I think they're similar to more like Virginia Tech, Virginia, which they both beat them.
100% agree with that. Yeah.
So I think the 10.5 is they're kind of enticing you with that hook for Syracuse, but Syracuse hasn't been playing good ball at all. Congrats on beating Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Boston College. Nothing impressive. I think Stanford houses them tomorrow and wins by like 15 or so. Because if they can't stop Renault, it's going to be a long, long night.
Matter of fact, you can get 9.5 on FanDuel right now, minus 120. I'm about to bet it.
Wags says this is the easiest under on the board. So Wags likes the under a lot here. Rod is taking Stanford, but get this, minus 12.5 at plus 125. Rod's the best, man. Stanford minus 12.5 plus 125. So yeah, if I would bet this one, I'd probably just tail Wags on the under. I don't know. When I looked at it, I kind of wanted to bet Syracuse, and Helms said too many points Syracuse, so we like Syracuse, but it's that high for a reason. That makes sense. All right, that's the end of that. I got to get to work on the NBA video, which, by the way, Trailblazers covered 4-1 tonight. So I had a good one, back-to-back winning nights. Actually, ever since Wildcard Sunday, man, things are just going my way. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to fuck the choo-choo up. Things are going well for me. But yeah, so if you guys want to see the NBA video, give me like an hour and a half to finish it up. There's like 11 games, so there's a lot to do. Be back tomorrow 4 p.m. and then probably back tomorrow night, same time. Make sure you guys.
I won't be here tomorrow night. I'm flying to you.
Oh, you fly here tomorrow? Okay, so Trev, can you get one of your guys to come on, Trev? Can you get one of your guys?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we'll talk tomorrow about it. Also, Wags, when are you going to sack up and come on the show, bro? Wags. But yeah, Trev, we'll talk to you tomorrow about it. And yeah, I was just going to say something else. No, I guess that's it. But all right,
you were going to say congratulations for Pitt because that was never a doubt. They were never.
Yeah, actually, no. The congratulations you deserve is Seton Hall because you took a lot of hate in the comments for that. And
did he really?
I didn't go back.
No, not just the live stream. There was a couple people after like laughing emojis. This guy's taking Seton Hall, laughing emojis. Like,
oh, that makes me feel. I didn't even read the comments.
I didn't know that. That's a weird game to be hating on, though.
Well, you got to think because we record this. These get. I mean, the last night's video that we did, it got almost 8,000 views. They get watched throughout the day, so it's like. Yeah, right now there's maybe 500 people that have seen it. By the time these games tip, a lot of people will have watched this. So, yeah, there was some people that didn't like the Seton Hall pick.
hey, I hated it, too, when they were down 14 in the second half. I was like, oh, my God, here they go. Yeah, but props to Seton Hall for fighting, and thank you, Providence, for bricking a bunch of free throws late.
Hey, that's why you take the shot. That's why you take the points, baby.
Did you guys see Toast in the Discord was like at the end of the BYU game was like, if guys, he's like, I promise if I get Baylor, I'll be positive Pauly from now on. Just give me Baylor.
I didn't.
They
got BYU just like they got everybody else. So
not UCF. World didn't get UCF.
But I don't think the world was.
Everyone have a good night. Bet responsibly. Talk to y'all tomorrow.